Hi folks, it's Andy. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. I've got plenty of questions. I'll get to them right in a moment. You know what I'm going to say? Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Join the Kendo Show Early Access group. There's a link in the description down below. And most importantly, if these videos that I put out for free all the time bring you any value whatsoever, don't forget to support us by shopping at KendoStar.com. KendoStar, of course, is my own website. It's my company that provides amazing, fantastic, wonderful Kendo equipment all around the world, specifically designed for the international community. And yeah, if you don't believe me how brilliant it is, just check out our reviews. We are the highest rated, highest reviewed Kendo shop online. I'm absolutely sure of it. So yeah, go and shop at KendoStar. Right, let's get into these questions. I would like to know, is there any old school Kendo techniques or lost techniques that is not used these days in Kendo? Love the videos. Thanks. Okay, thank you. So it depends really how you consider it. There are some, yeah. Back apparently, I'm not a massive Kendo historian, if I'm honest, but I believe that in the past you were able to win a Kendo match or a Shiai by removing the men of the other person, and you were allowed to do stuff like trip people over and stuff like that and wrestle their men off. Of course, we don't have that anymore. There are some police tournaments in Japan though where they're still allowed to do foot sweeps though. So that does still exist actually in a small number of Shiai. Also, the mune, the chest, used to be a valid target for tsuki, for thrusts. But that was removed not so long ago, actually. And I think it was removed something to do with when you were against people doing Jordan. It was just far too easy to score that point against them. So I think that's why they removed it, I think. But anyway, it's no longer a valid strike area. Now it's just the throat. Next one. How are you going to restart your club practice when this is over? I mean, in obviously the quarantine or lockdown that most of us are experiencing at the moment. Right where you left off, or go back to the basics? Do you have a practice menu in mind already? Well, I stick to the basics anyway, even with quite advanced students, because I really am a big believer in the basics are what make the difference between okay players and really strong players. And I think that's backed up actually. If you look at the sort of translation video, I think I put it out yesterday, where I talked about, I basically translated a video of Eiga sensei teaching kirikaishi to a load of kids, and what he's saying is just basic stuff that we all already know. But the reason I wanted to put it out was it really kind of stresses that even at the elite level, that emphasis on the basics is a real thing. So what I'll probably do is, yeah, I mean, you know, it's not like we're going to jump into doing a load of tattoo-geiko. You know, we're going to have to kind of brush away the cobwebs, as it were. Yeah, by sort of and I wouldn't say returning to the basics, because that to some extent is what we were doing anyway. But yeah, we'll probably start off a little bit slower than normal, just to get back into the swing of it, get back into the feeling of not just swinging the Shinai, because most of us are doing Suburito at home, I expect, but also actually making strikes with the Shinai as well. So yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I don't think I've got a specific menu in mind right away, and I don't think I'll have one necessarily until I've got a better ideas when it's going to be. Having said that, I don't always have a rigid practice menu anyway, because it depends as to who turns up at practice. Next one, just an idea. Feel free to exclude if it doesn't make any sense. What's the top 5 things we should do when we get back to training? So, top 5 things you should do when you get back to training. 1, concentrate on swinging the Shinai with your left hand. If you've been doing Suburi throughout this period, then try to take the things you've been practicing through Suburi into the dojo and into your actual regular Kendo practice. Try as well to take the things from Suburi, not just for the way you swing the Shinai. Number 2 would be attacking with good, fast left foot hikitsuki, so bringing the left foot up behind you. Again, this is something that you can be working on now, ready for when you get back. I would also concentrate on good tenoichi. and having good kamae and making a kamae that's able to strike from any position. So if you can't make a strike immediately without making an adjustment, you're not in kamae. And finally, to try to make all cuts as if it's your last one. As one thing that this kind of situation has taught many of us is we don't know when it could be our last practice for a while. Because I'm sure most of us didn't expect our last practice to be our last one. So, next one. Hi, Andy. I'd like to ask, what are the alternative oils that can be used in maintaining our Shinai? So, the main one most people use is kurumi oil, which is walnut oil. We've got it on KendoStar, which is a great one. It seems to work really well. It seems to be very popular. Some people use tsubaki oil as well, which is another type of oil. It's a little bit more expensive in my experience. And does the same sort of thing. I've also, in a pinch, I've used like just the vegetable oil from the supermarket. It's not perfect, but it sort of does the job too. Next one. During your stay in Japan, did you attend as a spectator to a tattoo-geiko GI? And if yes, where was it? And can you tell us more about it? From the videos I've watched, tattoo-geiko are not exactly held at the same time from different places. The one happening in Aomori Village looks like it was a bit more difficult. So tattoo-geiko GI is when one person does repetitive shiai against several people. It could be like 10 people or 20 people or 50 people, and it could last several hours. I've never witnessed it myself personally or attended it as a spectator. I've certainly never participated in it. It's not something that's a massively common practice, actually. It's really quite rare. I don't really know of anywhere that's done it, or I don't really know anyone that's done it. But I know there's a documentary on YouTube. That's what you've sort of mentioned here with the one in Aomori. And yeah, it is something that does exist, I believe. And yeah, it's like a kind of endurance test. Not really of your physical endurance, because if you do the shiai against 50 people in a row, everyone's going to get tired. It doesn't matter how fit you are. It's more of a test of your mental fortitude and your spirit. So I think it's good, but the problem is it's not. It's a great training method for that, but it only really trains one person at a time, and requires 50 other people. So it's not a super efficient practice method. Often it's done as like some kind of special event, like a kind of, if somebody's passed a grading or something like that. Next one. Hi, Andy. I need to say that you're doing a great job for the Kendo community. Thank you very much. Thank you. I look forward to your every new video. Thank you. I'm a Kendo beginner and I find your videos very helpful. Some of them I'll watch again and again and I practice at home. Thanks. That's really, really it means a lot to me, because that's why I do it. So I've got a few questions. There's 3 questions here, so we'll go one at a time. 1, how should the men be packed when it's not used in order to maintain the Fuji shape and avoid the octopus look? Right, let me get a men. Oof. Okay, so here I've got one of my men. This is my Kaisei men, actually. Beautiful men, love it. Can't wait to get it on and get back to practice, but that's sort of beside the point. So here's how I tend to store it. Okay, I'll tie the himo up as if I was wearing it. All right, I'll make sure that the men is tied in the right place, so the knot is about equal with the monomi, the wider bar. When I put it in the borga bag, I'll bend the mendare this way like that, so they're slightly forward, and that sort of pulls the mendare apart here. Put the kote inside, and I'll put it in the borga bag this way. Then when I get home, take it out of the borga bag, all right? Definitely take it out of the borga bag. It's going to be all sweaty, okay? Try not to leave it this way up. All right, the reason for that is because the moisture in the futon from your sweat is all going to be pulled down by gravity, and it could get into the membuchi here. All right, you don't want to get this wet if you can help it, because this is raw hide. If it gets wet, it'll go soft. It's got a chance of splitting and possibly moving a little bit. It's really unlikely that it'll happen, but it's just a precaution, okay? So don't panic if you've done this, right? But if this is what you normally do, probably best not to. Instead, what you can do is... what I tend to do is I'll untie this, and then I'll hang it up if I can. All right, I hang it up by the himo, and make sure it's hung up to dry out. All right, and then when it's dry, I'll tie it back again like this. And where I store it is I store it on a flat surface. I've got a bunch of shelves because I've got loads of bogan, more than a normal person does. But I'll store it on a set of shelves or on a flat area, and I'll store it sort of down that way. All right, so it's resting like that, and I'll sort of shape it how I want it to be when I'm wearing it, and leave it in that position while I'm waiting to wear it again. Okay, hope that makes sense. Okay, next one. The second part of your question says, I think that your recent video with the set of Suburito is great. It gives a taste of real keiko. I really like to practice with you, and I play it almost every day. Oh, good. Do you plan to add more videos like this, maybe with slightly different sets of Suburito? It would help us make practicing at home more varied. Please don't remove the reminders about the most important points, as some people requested. They're a crucial part of the video, in my opinion. So this is about the Suburito long video that I did. I'll put a link in the description if I don't forget. It's basically a video you can put on and you can do Suburito together with me. Some people did indeed mention, they said, like me to take out some of the commentary so that it's just the Suburito, but I refuse to do that because the commentary is more valuable than just the pictures of me doing Suburito on the screen. I have to focus on those points whilst you're doing the Suburito. So what you're asking for is if I'll do a part 2, as it were. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I probably will do, to be honest. But having said that, look, don't be too keen for variety. Kendo is about repetition of the basics. All right. So if you follow that specific menu, that will help you improve rather than following different ones every day. So yeah, I know it's not as fun to have a less varied Suburito menu, but the fact is Kendo is not supposed to be super varied, if that makes sense. All right. So having said that, I'll probably will do another one when I get 5 minutes or half an hour. Okay, and part 3 of the question says, thanks for your last video about tenuchi. I'd like to ask whether the rules regarding applying tenuchi and kote are any different. Should the thumb not touch the skirt, as is explained in the video below? And you've linked to the wonderful video by Shin Sensei explaining tenuchi. His explanation of how to do correct tenuchi is absolutely brilliant. So I'll put a link to that video in the description as well, again, as long as I don't forget. But it's definitely a really, really good video about how to do tenuchi properly. Let me grab a pair of kote. Oof, okay, I'm back. Right, so I've got some kote, I've got Shinai. So let me just pop them down there a minute. So what we're talking about is the position of your right hand when you're holding the Shinai. Okay, so yeah, the thumb shouldn't touch the tsuba, all right? So you wrote tsuka, but of course the thumb has to touch the tsuka. The tsuka means the handle, okay? This whole thing is a tsuka. I think what you're talking about is the tsuba, because that's what Shin Sensei talks about in his video. The thumb shouldn't be touching against the tsuba like this, all right? This is not correct, okay? It should be something like this, so that you've got a V shape here that's in line with the tsuru of the Shinai when it's straight, okay? So yes, as you can see, my thumb does not touch the tsuba like that, okay? If you do that, you won't be able to do the correct tenuchi, okay? It has to be like that so that you can strike with correct tenuchi. And when I put on the kote, it's exactly the same. You should not practice the way to grip the Shinai differently, all right, when you're not wearing the kotes to when you do wear it. So one mistake I see a lot is people doing this, like with their finger, pointing their finger like that, right? That is incorrect as well. Don't do that. You can't do that when you're wearing the kote, right? So you're practicing something that you can't do in actual practice. So you should hold it the same way as you do when you hold it with the kote. So if I put on my kote, the way I hold it is exactly the same. Okay, you see how my thumb is not touching the tsuba. My index finger is up against it there. Okay. That way, but my thumb does not touch the tsuba like that, okay? That's a mistake a lot of people make, and it's really well highlighted in Shin Sensei's video. it's like how you grip a hammer or something. He mentions how you should grip a tennis racket, which I think is a great analogy as well. But yeah, it needs to be that way so that you can use your wrist as a hinge. All right. I've talked a little bit more about that as well in the tips for Suburito video that I did in together with O'Sullivan Sensei, who's I'm trying to get my questions paper. Who's a Kyoshi 7th Dan from the UK, and we talked about how to grip the Shinai in that as well. So give that a watch. Okay. Next one. How was training like in the national team? So that's a really interesting question. Because I have a very unusual journey with the national team that most people, it's different to how most people experience it. Obviously, I was on the British national team for about 13 years or something like that. And yeah, over that long period, it was very different in different times because we had several different coaches with different methods, different teaching styles. But in general, it was very, very tough. To be a national team player, you want to stand on the same stage as the best people in the world. In fact, you're competing to become the best in the world. That's literally what being a national team player is. You don't join the national team, or shouldn't join the national team for the experience or to feel happy that you got the chance to do it. You go there to compete for the championship. And that means, for me, what it meant was if I was to compete on the same stage as somebody like, I don't know, like Shoji Teramoto sensei or Ryoichi Uchimura sensei, something like that. Those people were competing at the same time as me. Then for that day, if nothing else, for that one day, we were equals. Now, that's not to say we were equal ability, because we certainly weren't. But one thing that I certainly learned from the World Championships in Taiwan, that the USA national team, the Team USA did, was they proved that anything can happen in Shiai, anything can happen in the Shobu, and it's not just about who's done, who's got the best funding or who's got this or that. It's about who's almost who wants it more, in a way. And I think I remember hearing a sensei say that when he was at the World Championships in Taiwan, the only players that he felt the only teams that were there to beat the Japanese team was Korea, South Korea, and USA. And USA, of course, achieved that, which was an amazing achievement that changed the face of Kendo in the West. Well, not just in the West, in the world. So I've always been very conscious of that as a national team player. And what that meant is, in my later career as a player, when I was living in Japan, of course, I wasn't participating in the monthly training sessions that the team was participating in. But instead, I had the burden of that on my own shoulders, and I had to take it upon myself. And that's what all national team players have to do. Actually, you can't pass that responsibility off to your coach or your team. Just turning up to your squad trainings or your team trainings isn't enough. That's a tiny sliver of what you have to do to become a true national team player, as opposed to somebody that's just going there, for the ride, in a way. If that's the wrong way of putting it, I guess, but I played against a Korean national team a couple of times. I never played the Japanese national team in the World Championships. I played their team members in Shiai in Japan, but not team members in the actual championships. Or, for example, when I played the Korean national team, or even when I played, for example, some of the Japanese national team, even if it wasn't at the World Championships or that sort of taiko, if it was a Japanese shiai, I didn't lose it and feel, oh, well, that was a good experience. Of course not. I felt disappointed that I lost the match because I tried my best to win. I never saw it as just a match for experience, or, oh, yeah, get to do Kendo with that person or something like that. I tried to win, and when I didn't, it was disappointing. And I think that's the mindset that a national team player should have. Of course, I could be wrong, but that's what I think. And I feel like the really successful national team players are players that managed to do that even to a better extent than I did. And they obviously managed to perform at a much higher level than I ever did. Right, next one. When practicing with senpai and sensei, you emphasize striking men above all else with the intention of practicing the fundamental aspect of striking from a place of semi. Do you mean that you should stick to tobikomi men, striking men from a one step far distance, or do you include going for men from other places of semi and kikai? So, okay, so when you're practicing with your seniors, especially sensei, here's the thing, right? It's not even the case that it's like you should only hit men. What I mean is, like, you have to ask yourself, all right, if you're with you've got to put it in context, all right? If it's somebody that's like one grade higher than you, then it's closer to like gokaku geiko, right? It's more like, for the most part, I mean, it depends on the situation, of course, but, you know, you've got to ask yourself, what is the purpose of your keiko, all right? So if I'm practicing with a 8th dan, Hanshi 8th dan, for example, what am I going to achieve by trying to pop out waza that is like feinting men and hitting kote? And even so, I might get him to block and then I hit his kote. So what have I achieved by that? How have I used that keiko with that sensei to further my goal of improving at kendo? All I've done is I've just proved to myself, or I've just kind of made myself feel good. Instead, if I face that sort of sensei, I want to try and challenge myself, not the sensei. Yeah. It's an odd turn of phrase, but it kind of comes from the way they use it in Japanese, but I want to use the sensei for my improvement. Yeah. Because I'm trying to compete with myself, not with the sensei. So yeah, for the most part, I'll probably try to attack men because I'm not very good at attacking men with 100% STEMI. I still struggle not to get caught up in my own ego of not wanting to get hit and then look bad in front of the sensei or the other people watching. Instead, I want to try and throw that away and just get it back to basics and simple techniques of just try to make full strikes with full spirit, full STEMI. If it's more of if we're closer in skill level, then yeah, of course we can get more competitive and we can use different types of waza. But yeah, I mean, of course, even with the sensei, it doesn't mean that I just do the same men over and over again, necessarily. Of course, I try to do different types of men waza, but, you know, look, let's be honest, like my semi, it doesn't really work against hachidans. They're far superior in skill level to me. So it doesn't necessarily, you know, trying to, you know, doing this and then doing that and then saying, oh, I'm trying a different type of semi. It's like, well, really? Am I? Or am I just kind of trying to tell myself that? I don't know. It's tough, all right? It's difficult. And it's something I'm still trying to work out myself. All right. So, yeah. I think the best thing is to just try to overcome your own fears to strike or be struck and try to attack with full spirit. Anyway, next question. When all this is over, I'll be coming to your class to restart Kendo after a significant period out of it. Oh, great. I was due to take Shodan when I moved away for work. It's now the best part of a decade since I practiced, but I'm very eager to get going again. Do I just forget everything and just take everything from the beginning again? Or will there be some elements that I will pick up where I left off? So, look, the best thing to do is if you're coming back to Kendo after like a long time off, you say you were getting ready to go for Shodan, just come to it with a totally open mind. Don't expect to be able to just do everything that you could before as you did before. Maybe you'll be able to, maybe you won't. All right. But don't worry either way. We'll just take it right from the beginning and we'll see if, if you pick that stuff up or if it comes back to you as normal, then we'll be able to accelerate that through quicker than probably would if you'd had no experience whatsoever. But yeah, I probably wouldn't be, if you've got Borgu, I probably wouldn't be throwing you straight into Borgu and chucking you straight into practicing with Borgu after that sort of time off. Especially if you hadn't actually got Shodan yet, but it doesn't mean that you'd be far away from it. Yeah. I'm sure it'll come back actually I'm pretty sure it will. So if nothing else, you'll be at an advantage over somebody that's not had any experience whatsoever. Next one, about Bokken. I'm going to get the light one to see how it feels. Also, I have an old Tsunuke Bokuto I use for Suburi, which I found is a decent mid-ground, heavier than a Shinai, lighter than a Suburito, short enough for my Indo needs. I see that you're selling Tsunuke Bokuto now, so I was wondering if they can be used for kata. Some sources say it might crack as they're harder, but others say it's fine. What's your opinion on this? You can use a Tsunuke Bokken for kata if it's one of those that doesn't have the tsuba already molded on. We don't sell those at KendoStar. Some of them come with like a wooden tsuba and tsubadome sort of glued on. They tend to break. The tsuba tends to break. So if it's one of those, don't use it for kata. But if it's one that you can attach a separate tsuba to, then yeah, you can use that for kata, for kendo kata, all right? You can't use it, well, I'm not saying you can't use it, I can't comment on whether you can use it for kata for other budo or other kenjutsu and stuff like that. Some kenjutsu hit the bokuto together quite hard. We don't hit the bokuto together that hard in kendo no kata, so it should be fine. I know plenty of people that use the Tsunuke Bokken in Kendo Kata without a problem. Next one, it's the same person, just another part of the question. Another question is about waza. Is there a written source where men kiri otoshi men is described? Found videos, but I still can't picture what's happening, much less the timing of it. So men kiri otoshi men, it's not really I hesitate to say it's not a kendo waza, but it's kind of like, it comes from itoryu, which is like a kenjutsu, and it's when the opponent is cutting and you kind of time your cut to cut through their cut so that you make the strike to the men. It is possible to do it in kendo, and I have seen some high-level senseis do it to quite a good effect. It's not a waza that I use, but and it's to be honest, I've never seen it any source where it's sort of written and described how to do it or anything like that. It's not something I would ever teach on my channel or even teach to my students, and I don't think it's something you need to worry about until you're until you're quite a high grade, to be honest. And even then, I question whether you really need it as part of your repertoire. It's not mentioned in hardly. I've never seen it even. I can't think of an All Japan Kendo Federation publication or any piece of information that they put out that mentions it as a waza. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm just saying that it's super uncommon and you don't need to worry about it. Okay, last one. How would one utilize a Suburito for most effectiveness? Also, is there a difference between the full wood ones compared to the ones made like Shinai using extra slats of bamboo for extra weight? Okay. Gonna have to disappear again. Oof, okay, I'm back again. Right. So Suburito is this. This is a solid wooden bokuto that's thicker than a standard one, and it's used for Suburi. It's heavier, and it's a good training aid. In terms of the question was, how do you use it most effectively? Use it the same way as you would a Shinai. It's probably, you're gonna need a lot of practice to be able to do more advanced Suburi like katate Suburi. And if you start to feel pain like in your wrists or your elbows, stop and go back to using a lighter one. Because if you do it the bad technique and when you're not used to it, you haven't built up the muscle power in the areas you need to, then it's possible to hurt yourself. So don't overdo it with it either. the main difference between these and the ones that look like big fat Shinai is that these tend to actually be a little bit heavier. The bamboo ones are a little bit lighter. So personally, I prefer these ones because if I was going to go for something lighter than this, I'd just stick with a normal Shinai. So yeah, I prefer these. And then the Shinai, I use these. I use the Shinai and I use the Kiribokto, the really light one, which is even lighter than the Shinai. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that sort of thing. Join the access group. The Kendo Show Early Access group is a great place to join and post your questions. And it's where I post a lot of the content before I post it anywhere else. And even better, at the moment, I've been doing, not quite daily, but as much as I can, impromptu live streams in that group where I've literally been going live and we watch a Kendo video together. And you can interact with me, ask me questions live and stuff like that as well. And of course, don't forget to shop at KendoStar.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.